There comes a moment when you have to stop asking yourself whether you feel ready, because readiness is often a beautiful lie. It tells you to wait until tomorrow, until you have more confidence, more energy, more certainty, more proof that the road ahead will not hurt. And while you are waiting, life keeps moving. The morning becomes afternoon. The afternoon becomes night. Another day disappears, and the dream you carried so carefully remains untouched inside you. But what if the life you want is not waiting for you to become fearless? What if it is waiting for you to become willing? Willing to rise when your mind says stay down. Willing to begin when your hands are trembling. Willing to take one step when you cannot see the whole road. Willing to do what must be done, even when nobody applauds, nobody notices, and nobody promises you that it will work. You do not need to feel powerful before you act. Sometimes you act first, and power comes looking for you afterward. There is something sacred about choosing movement over hesitation. Every small action says, I have not abandoned myself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you rebuild something inside you that disappointment tried to break. You become less dependent on moods, circumstances, approval, and perfect timing. So force yourself, not through cruelty, but through commitment. Get up. Begin. Do the thing you have been postponing. Take the step that frightens you, because your future will not be created by what you intended to do. It will be shaped by what you repeatedly choose to do when no one is watching. And perhaps the greatest act of courage is not changing your entire life in one dramatic moment. Perhaps it is simply waking up today and refusing to remain where yesterday left you. Most people spend far too much of their lives waiting for a feeling that may never arrive. They wait to feel motivated before beginning. They wait for confidence before speaking. They wait for certainty before making a decision. They wait for the fear to disappear before taking the first step. And slowly, almost invisibly, waiting becomes a way of living. The dream remains in the distance, not because the person lacks ability, but because they have convinced themselves that they must feel ready before they are allowed to begin. But motivation is not always the beginning of action. Very often, action is the beginning of motivation. You may wake up tired. You may not want to exercise, write, study, build your business, repair your relationships, or confront the responsibility you have been avoiding. Your mind will offer you 100 reasonable excuses. It will tell you that tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow you will have more energy. Tomorrow you will be more focused. Tomorrow you will finally become the person who can do what needs to be done. But tomorrow has a dangerous habit of becoming another tomorrow. The truth is that you cannot build a different life by continuously negotiating with the discomfort of the present moment. At some point you have to move, not because you are fearless, but because fear does not deserve to make every decision for you. There will be days when your heart is heavy and your confidence is nowhere to be found. There will be mornings when getting out of bed feels like an argument with yourself. There will be moments when the work seems too difficult and the destination seems impossibly far away. Those moments do not mean you have failed. They mean you are human, and being human means learning how to continue even when your emotions are not cooperating with your intentions. You do not need to conquer the entire mountain today. You only need to take the next step, make the call. Open the book, write the first sentence, walk for 10 minutes, send the application, clean the room, practice the skill, start the project, have the difficult conversation. Do one thing that moves you closer to the person you say you want to become. Small action has a power that hesitation never possesses. When you act, you create evidence. You prove to yourself that you are capable of moving even when you do not feel like moving. Tomorrow, that evidence becomes confidence. The next day, confidence becomes discipline. Eventually, discipline becomes identity. You stop saying, I am trying to become someone who takes action, and begin knowing, I am someone who takes action. That transformation does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly, through ordinary decisions made again and again. It happens when nobody is watching. It happens when there is no applause. It happens when you choose your future over your temporary comfort. So stop waiting for the perfect feeling. Move while you are uncertain. Begin while you are afraid. Take action while your confidence is still small, because sometimes the door does not open until you have the courage to reach for the handle. Your future is not built in the rare moments when you feel unstoppable. It is built in the ordinary moments when you feel tired, distracted, uncertain, and still decide to continue. There is a quiet power in doing something every day, especially when that something seems too small to matter. A single page may not change your life. A single workout may not transform your body. 1 hour of learning may not make you an expert. One courageous decision may not solve every problem. But repeated long enough, those small actions become something greater than themselves. They become evidence that you are capable of keeping promises to yourself. Discipline is not punishment. It is devotion to a future you cannot yet see. When you practice discipline, you are choosing what matters most over what feels easiest in the moment. Comfort says, stay here. Discipline says, keep going. Fear says, what if you fail? Discipline answers, what if I never try? Doubt says, you are not ready. Discipline says, I will learn along the way. This is why daily action matters. Every day gives you another opportunity to strengthen the person you are becoming. You may not notice the change immediately because meaningful transformation is often quiet. A tree does not announce every new root it grows beneath the soil. A person does not always recognize the moment their character becomes stronger. But something is happening each time you choose consistency over excuses. Perhaps you begin with only 10 minutes. 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of exercise, 10 minutes of writing, 10 minutes of practicing something that once intimidated you. It may seem insignificant, but significance is not always found in size. Sometimes it is found in repetition. What you repeat becomes familiar. What becomes familiar becomes easier. What becomes easier becomes consistent. And what becomes consistent can eventually become a defining part of who you are. This is how discipline changes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who always quits. You become someone who finishes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who cannot follow through. You become someone who keeps promises. You stop waiting for circumstances to give you permission. You begin creating your own momentum. There will still be difficult days. Discipline does not mean you will suddenly become tireless or perfectly focused. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. You will lose momentum sometimes. That is not the end of your story. The real measure of discipline is not whether you never fall away. It is whether you are willing to return. Begin again. Return to the work. Return to the promise. Return to the person you decided you wanted to become. Do not underestimate the power of another ordinary day. You may think nothing important is happening because the results are not visible yet, but every action is casting a vote for your future. Every choice is teaching your mind what you value. Every repetition is shaping your habits, and every habit is shaping your life. You do not need to transform everything today. You need to become faithful to the next right action, then do it again tomorrow and the day after that, because eventually, the life you once imagined as impossible may begin to look like the natural consequence of all those days when you simply refused to stop moving.